Hello, my name is Varun Bharti. I'm the president of the Rutgers Entrepreneurial Society. And today joining me is Georgie, CEO of Ararat Robotics. Um, for those of you who don't know, today we're filming the Rutgers Entrepreneurship Spotlight series. Essentially, we're giving a platform to ambitious, creative, and amazing student founders like Georgie, to my right. And we're giving them an opportunity to not only talk about their companies, which they love talking about, but also to talk about yourself, to talk about your story as a student founder, to talk about the face behind Ararat Robotics. So without further ado, Georgie, please introduce yourself to the audience.
First of all, thank you for the great introduction. I think that did the justice. I'm a Rutgers student in the electrical engineering department. I am a senior. I started Ararat Robotics about 2.5 years ago. And I guess today we'll talk about the path that led me to it.
Yeah. So is there anything else you would like to say about yourself that made you want to come up with Ararat Robotics?
Oh, sure. I mean,
Yeah.
I could definitely talk.
Yeah.
Let's get into about that. Yeah. So this was back in the early COVID days when this whole thing was just starting, the online learning, etc. And that's really when all these different voices came in my head and started telling me that, hey, what are you doing sitting on your butt? And why don't you start acting on all these different ideas that you've been having? And I've been having ideas to innovate for a long time, ever since I was a child. That's why I went into engineering in the first place. And so also at the same time, there was a conflict going on in Armenia, and I was thinking, how can I leverage, my knowledge, maybe my input into this world to bring representation to my people, my origins. And so that's kind of how I came up with Ararat Robotics. But there's also a lot of things that have happened in the back end, like working with a mentor of mine, going through the process of identifying what are the different aspects of my life that are important. How can I line up my priorities in life? That way, every single action I take, every single thing I do in the morning, how does all that align to bring me to the next level? How do my ambitions align to bring me to the next level? And so with my mentor, we went through the process of finding Ikigai. I'm not sure if you're familiar with what that is. But we, created a big document where, I documented my thoughts, etc. every day. And there were some things that she did with metacognition, etc. And eventually we identified all these different things that mattered to me. And that's how Ararat Robotics came to be. It's a combination of how can I contribute to this world in a positive light? How can I bring representation to my people? How can I, offer a platform for student talent to apply their knowledge and also impact this world? Because, a lot of students in particular are misguided, and they're, led down this path of, oh, I'm going to become an influencer, but how are you influencing this world, really? And so it started with asking the right questions, because, in the early days, this was a bit of a gimmick. The first announcement I ever made was, let's build the next Mars rover. And then, going through different startup accelerator programs, we eventually got the idea down by first learning about our customer, figuring out what the problem is, and then that's, what you see today, the solution to our customers' problems.
Yeah. So now the viewers know a little bit about you, Georgie. Let's also give a quick intro to Ararat. What is Ararat? What do you do?
Absolutely. Ararat Robotics is a space technology company with the eventual goal of facilitating human expansion into space, establishing the lunar economy. But before we can even get there, there's steps to that process, because we need to gain the trust of the people that we're serving, the taxpayers, because that's the, end goal. We want to use tax money to facilitate this, because at the end of the day, everybody is a stakeholder. In 50 years, cataclysms are going to become very, very evident, and we need to start looking for a path forward. And so that's what we're doing. But the path forward for us is to start solving problems on Earth. And so we've partnered with a company called TerraSynth that does that. They're a government contractor. They work for various, government entities, and we help them fulfill their contracts, create contracts for them, write proposals. That's where we sit right now. But the eventual goal is obviously the moon, lunar economy.
Yes. You said something extremely interesting to me, Georgie. You said that within 50 years, cataclysms will be, what was the word you said?
Evident.
Evident.
Yes.
Like, because you are one of the founders trying to get us off of the planet. You're trying to achieve an interstellar humanity. There's a reason why, right? Well, what do you think are it's kind of off topic, but just real quickly, what do you think are the leading factors that are that are going to cause these cataclysms, which make it necessary for the human race to be interstellar? Because if we're not, we are doomed, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first and foremost, it's nature.
Yes.
Changes, environment changes. We're, as species, at the top of evolution, we need to learn how to adapt. And one way to learn how to adapt is to find new habitat or find new ways of dealing with the changing nature. There's a billion factors affecting it. Obviously, human factor is one of them. But it's beyond our control. All we could do is adapt. We cannot stop these changes from happening, but we can slow them down. We can address certain problems while we still have time, like using renewable energy sources, etc., and innovating in that sphere. But primarily to have a backup, right? Like you can't just put all your eggs in one basket. Not with what we've seen and witnessed throughout history, from different famines to even recently with COVID.
Yeah,
that took millions of lives.
Yeah.
It's not, and it's not something that came out of nowhere.
One more, we talks about putting all your eggs in one basket. Furthermore, we could talk about Russia, Ukraine.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. Not everybody's on the same page.
Yeah,
and that's one of the core values of our company is that we want to bring people to be on the same page because at the end of the day, it's our lives that are at stake.
Yes.
And we're the ones who have to, as David Goggins would say, carry the boat.
Yeah.
But in reality, just take responsibility for our futures and futures of people to come.
Yeah.
So that's why I do this. That's why I stay motivated doing it. And I think the biggest part and the biggest challenge right now is communicating that message to the world, to the people, that there are things that we should focus on more right now.
Yes. So, and then now that you're here, Georgie, I think myself as well as the viewers have an amazing opportunity to ask someone as smart as you, the CEO of Ararat Robotics, what are your thoughts about the space tech industry right now? Your past, present, future thoughts. How do you think the industry has performed so far? How could it have done better? And where do you think it's going to go in the future?
As with anything, it's going to progress. But I think the primary concern of mine is transparency. I think there's not enough transparency. And that's what causes problems. Because even with a great human feat like the International Space Station, there's problems with transparency. The Russia-Ukraine conflict, as hard as that is on the two political parties that play, that's something that is still a common ground. And so I think pushing forward that message of humanity needs to go to space, let's unite on that front, because we need to leave all our problems aside and solve these problems because survival is at stake. And I think communicating that message is going to be the future. After that, it's obviously education. And with the technologies we have right now, there are definitely ways where we could at least slow the process of the terraforming process, I call it. But eventually, a lot of people make references to human beings as the virus of the Earth, where in reality, I think Earth is immune to us already.
Yeah.
So we need to find a new host.
Yes. Amazing. So, what vision do you have for the future of your company, George?
A infrastructure hub. That's what. The problem with current big boys in the industry is the fact that they're too big to manage. They're too big to for any authority to take care of them. And so there are very slow processes in place, and innovation could take place faster if we dedicate and outsource all these different projects, small bits at a time, to younger founders, smaller companies, startups, and then I think that would also serve the message of bringing everybody together. Because there's talent all over the world. There's huge amount of student talent that hasn't been tapped into, and I think that's going to be one of the leading factors in innovation in space tech.
That's very insightful.
Yeah. Energy is another thing, right? We need to figure out a way to bring all this infrastructure to the moon, because just to exit Earth's orbit, it would take the Starship almost the entirety of its fuel, and then it doesn't have enough fuel to come back or to go further onto the moon. And so what we would have to tackle first is the energy problem. How can we create energy sources outside of the Earth? And that's one of the primary challenges that we're tackling right now. How can we harness the energy that's held within the moon? And we're doing that by extracting oxygen. Interested now?
Yeah. Amazing conversation so far. Very insightful.
AI is another thing.
AI.
There are things that we have done. There's an archive full of great information, but there's also huge amount of opportunities where that information hasn't been tested. Different combinations of all this different tech could yield positive results in various areas. AI is way more efficient than we are at analyzing data, and so I think that's the way forward. Absolutely.
That was very insightful, Georgie. I know that we might be short on time, so this last question, it'll be a little bit of a 2-for-1.
Okay.
First, tell us a little bit about the hardships of your entrepreneurial journey, and then we can dovetail that into advice that you would give to aspiring student founders like yourself.
Absolutely. Obviously, managing school and work, or your entrepreneurial venture.
Yes.
I think the biggest problem for me was recognizing that while school is very important, it also wouldn't teach you a lot of the things that you need on your journey. And it also doesn't let you roam free and apply your knowledge in the ways that you could with an entrepreneurial venture. Yeah. And so I think that is a release. Having an entrepreneurial venture in the first place is a release. It allows you to apply the knowledge that you gain at school, whatever you might be studying. And so my advice for me is to just get started, no matter how stupid or bizarre it sounds. And after repeating that process of starting over and over and over and over, you'll eventually gain so many skills that are so intersectional that when you find a certain problem that exists, when you know your audience, you'll be able to solve it because you have all these different intersectional experiences. And so starting is the most important thing, I think, because I've envisioned it. It brewed in my mind for a long time, and I never acted on it, and it ate away at me. And going through that process with my mentor of understanding why I wasn't feeling fulfilled, kind of led me to this starting Ararat Robotics. And never a better time to start than when you're in school.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you're taking all the risk, but you don't get slapped by life as hard as you would when you have a full-time job.
Yes. Well, any other last words, Georgie?
Definitely, if you have a startup, if you're an entrepreneur, get to the Rutgers Entrepreneurs. There's a crap ton of resources that are available to students. There's a great support network and events like these to give access to the rest of the world. Make sure to check us out on our website, www.aratratrobotics.com. We're also on Instagram. All of our socials are in the footer of our website. Stay on top of our journey, and hopefully, if you are a space tech enthusiast, you can come board of our team and we could build the future together.